Europe has leverage over Russia. This statement was made by Estonian Foreign Minister Margus Tsahkna while discussing regional security issues. In an interview with the German publication R&D, the diplomat stated that Putin's ambitions go beyond seizing Ukrainian territory. He aims to weaken NATO's influence and dismantle Europe's security architecture. According to the Estonian Foreign Minister, the EU is working to strengthen its position to ensure that Europe has a seat at the table in future negotiations.
If Europe and Ukraine unite and Ukrainians are strong enough to reject a bad deal, then the US will have to align with Europe's position at the negotiating table. This war is already in Europe and we can only end it together. We as Europeans have significant means to pressure Russia during negotiations. They want access to 220 billion euros in frozen assets and an end to economic sanctions. Both of these are in our hands, not in the hands of the Americans. Margus Tsahkna, Minister of Foreign Affairs of the Republic of Estonia, in a comment to the R&D publication.
Following statements by U.S. Special Envoy for Ukraine and Russia Kate Kellogg that Washington does not see Europe as part of the negotiations, the EU has intensified its investments in the defense sector and increased aid to Ukraine. On the third anniversary of Russia's full-scale invasion, a Support Ukraine summit was held in Kyiv, where new aid packages were announced. Denmark pledged nearly 270 million euros, Spain 1 billion, Norway 3.5 billion, and the UK more than 5 billion euros. Additionally, European Commission President Ursula von der Leyen announced a 3.5 billion euros contribution from the European Union.
I will present a comprehensive plan on how to scale up our European arms production and defense capabilities, and Ukraine will also benefit. No one wants peace more than the people of Ukraine, but there is only one path to the just and lasting peace they are longing for, and this runs through military and financial strength for Ukraine. That is why we are strengthening your economy. This is why we increase the resilience of your energy supply. This is why we will continue training and equipping your troops. Ursula von der Leyen, President of the European Commission.
Additionally, on February 24, the EU adopted its 16th package of sanctions against Russia and Belarus. These restrictions target the aggressor state's shadow fleet, the banking sector, the sale of dual-use goods, and trade activities. Experts emphasize that economic pressure is a crucial tool in exerting leverage over Moscow.
The European Union has significant economic influence. Before the full-scale war, trade volume was quite substantial. Moreover, the EU plays a key role in the global financial system. The measures already implemented have sharply reduced trade between EU countries and Russia. It is not a complete halt, but it is a significant reduction. The latest sanctions package is aimed at further diminishing these economic ties.
In the near future, Europe has scheduled several additional defense and Ukraine support initiatives. On March 2nd, regional leaders will meet in London for a security summit, with another event planned for March 6. European Council President Antonio Costa has already sent invitations to various European leaders, including Volodymyr Zelensky. According to organizers, the key topic of discussion will be the security guarantees for Ukraine. Experts believe the EU is prepared to take further steps to finance both its own security and continued support for Kyiv.
One is obviously a renewed debt. The historical example that's always given is the emergency credit that the European Union took to fight the economic consequences of the pandemic a couple of years ago. 5 years ago, to be exact. And the other track which the European Union is considering is, confiscating the frozen Russian assets, which are more than 200 billion euros and are held in the European Union, most of them actually in Belgium.
On March 19th, European Commissioner for Defense Andrius Kubilius and EU High Representative for Foreign Affairs Kaja Kallas are set to present a new EU defense industry strategy, according to Bloomberg sources. The strategy will consist of three main components, including reforms to the EU's fiscal rules to free up funding for the defense budget and increase contributions within NATO. Reported by Katerina Bastun, Andriy Dmitrenko, UATV News.
The president of France called on allies to make strategic decisions to defend Europe. He also proposed introducing joint European funding to increase arms purchases and production. Emmanuel Macron is convinced that it will be difficult for Europe to have a unified army. However, he believes it is possible to create shared defense capabilities. Otherwise, he argues, Europe will not be able to become more autonomous.
As Europeans, we must increase our military efforts. We, the French, have a strong army, the most effective in Europe. We will need to strengthen our defense and our security. In the coming weeks, I want to organize a large-scale European funding initiative to increase defense procurement and production.
France must also increase its defense budget share, President Macron is convinced. During a meeting with parliamentary factions and groups, he suggested that the National Assembly, the country's parliament, consider increasing defense spending to 5% of gross domestic product. He reminded them that in the 60s, 70s and 80s, during the Cold War, France had similar levels of defense spending. However, after the fall of the Berlin Wall, investments were reduced. Today, France spends about 2% of its gross domestic product on defense.
The time is coming when we will have to invest even more, both in France and across Europe, to strengthen our defense and security. I'm not sure if 5% is the right figure for France, but in any case, we will have to raise these expenses. I do not rule out launching a savings mechanism. We are entering an era where each of us should ask ourselves, what can we do for the French nation and the Republic? In this sense, such a savings mechanism would be a very good idea.
In recent days, Emmanuel Macron has had numerous conversations with Ukrainian President Volodymyr Zelensky. The two leaders have coordinated their diplomatic efforts for the immediate future.
During the conversation, the presidents of Ukraine and France shared details of their contacts with other world leaders and coordinated positions, joint plans, and next steps. Volodymyr Zelensky and Emmanuel Macron also discussed in detail the views on security guarantees. From a publication on the website of the Office of the President of Ukraine,
in particular, the leaders discussed preparations for Emmanuel Macron's visit to Washington. According to the French president, he intends to meet with Donald Trump and urge him to be weak in the face of Putin, as this is not in Washington's interest. How can you be authoritative in the face of China then? Macron asked.
He, Macron, will come to the United States to speak for the Europeans and to say that Ukraine's future cannot be decided without them. Benjamin Haddad, the Minister for Europe and Foreign Affairs of France, from a publication in Le Figaro.
The Prime Minister of the United Kingdom, Keir Starmer, is also preparing to visit Washington. Information about the upcoming visits of Macron and Starmer was confirmed by the White House. They stated that the leaders of France and the UK would visit the United States separately, and the dates for their visits have been set.
And next Monday, the president will host France's President Emmanuel Macron. And on Thursday, the UK Prime Minister Keir Starmer will visit the White House as well.
According to The Telegraph, the Prime Minister of the UK will urge Donald Trump to keep American fighter jets and missiles ready in Europe in case Russia violates the terms of any potential ceasefire. Additionally, Starmer is expected to bring the United States a strategy for deploying European troops in Ukraine.
Sir Keir Starmer will present Donald Trump with a plan to send fewer than 30,000 European troops to Ukraine in an attempt to secure American protection for the deployment. The Prime Minister is expected to detail how European forces could police any ceasefire deal brokered by the U.S. President when the pair meet in Washington next week, from a publication in The Telegraph.
The question of a peacekeeping mission in Ukraine is also being considered in Paris. According to Emmanuel Macron, France would likely be willing to send troops to guarantee peace only if it's achieved through negotiations. Reported by Alexandra Zaslavets, Valeria Nikipelova, UATV News.